What is good, YouTube? It's Joey, and today we're going to be grading the New England Patriots draft. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're not going to do all divisions because those videos are long and they've been struggling. I mean, those draft videos where I do division by division, I feel like they're necessary, but they're not getting as many views as I'd like. So we're going to try something different. We're going to do team by team here. This is going to take much longer, but it's going to be shorter and maybe it'll do better. I don't know. But I got a new editor. We're going to see how this goes. But with the number one, round one, 15 overall pick, the New England Patriots selected Mac Jones, quarterback, Alabama, which I think was one of the best picks in the draft, who is a national champion passer, falls time to the 6-time Super Bowl champions. And Jones is such a freaking Tom Brady 2.0. I mean, he's like the closest in terms of play style and how he is. In terms of lack of athleticism, but I mean, probably a weaker arm than Tom, but with the accuracy and the smarts to carve up defenses, short, intermediate, and stuff. And he'll fit that way more than Cam Newton for a team that's going to need a long-time successor. I'm assuming that Mac Jones is going to start this year. Or no, take that back. I think Cam Newton's going to start this year, and they're probably going to rest Mac Jones for 1 year. And then they're going to let him develop behind Cam. Cam's on a 1-year deal, so he's going to succeed him. But Patriots coach Bill Belichick did his homework on Jones, who's his close friend, Nick Saban, and Tucaloosa. Now it'll be worth monitoring how New England designs an offense that's conductive on both Jones's ability and Newton's. Mac Jones was putting up Heisman numbers, but the knock on him is his athleticism and his arm strength. But he was in an Alabama offense with Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Nick Saban, all the talent. But he's going to an NFL team in the Patriots that I'm telling you, you shouldn't sleep on them at all, man. This team is a legit team with talent all over the roster after going out in free agency. Now, if these signings don't work out, then that's a completely different story, but they have a lot to be excited about, and Mac Jones has a great future. He has a great offensive line, so this pick makes sense because he's going to have time back there, and he's going to be able to pick apart the defense. And they have their scheme in New England, so I think it's an A+. I think it's a great fit, and if Mac Jones was going to go to any team, I think New England was just the absolute perfect fit. The Jets traded up 1 pick before New England. I'm like, do they take Mac Jones just to save us suffering? And nope, they didn't. They were smart. I mean, they would have picked 2 quarterbacks, but I mean, just pick Mac Jones to get him away from the Patriots. But round 2, they got another steal. Christian Barmore, a defensive tackle out of Alabama. He wrecked Ohio State in the college football national championship game, flashing his ability to clog running lanes and get to the quarterback up the gut. A 3-round disruptor who should bring some needed athleticism to New England's front. The Pats gave up 2 4th-rounders in a 2nd-round swap with Cincy. So I think this is another home run pick for the Patriots, who had an amazing first 2 rounds because they needed someone else in there. Barmore is the future of their defensive line, defensive tackle. He's the best defensive tackle in the draft. And they got Godshaw and some other veterans in there, but this definitely helps bolster that front. And he was the best defensive tackle in the class. Can play all the downs, defend the run, rush the passer. I think it was really worth it to trade up. And then round 3, they get Ronnie Perkins, a defensive end out of Oklahoma, a productive, disruptive player. He stacked up 32 tackles for loss and 16.5 sacks in 3 years for the Sooners. It looks like New England's D-line is suddenly looking like a strength after Matt Judon and Kyle Van Noy come back, and now they get Ronnie Perkins, a defensive end who's going to be able to get after the quarterback. So the Patriots having an amazing draft with Mac Jones, Christian Barmore, and Ronnie Perkins, who fell to them. So they really hit a home run. So next they had Dre Stevenson, a running back out of Oklahoma with the number 120th pick. And if there was any doubt to what kind of team the Patriots want to be with 2021 and beyond, they seem to want to be a run-first team, bolstering up that offensive line, getting tight ends even, and having a run quarterback like Cam Newton. But maybe that changes when Mac Jones takes over. But they got a 230-pound running back with the fourth round to bury the defense. The Patriots are going to be a heavy personnel attack featuring 2 tight ends at a time or 2 backs with both. They got depth at running back. They're going to try to overpower teams with the power running game that leans on big backs running behind big linemen. And Stevenson, who like Perkins, also served as suspension after reportedly failing a drug test, fits the mold nicely with his size and his uncommon agility for a man with his frame. Stevenson isn't quite the same athlete that LeGarrette Blount was, as an admirer of his game, but he can definitely pound that rock and run behind that offensive line. And unless the team plans to have him redshirt his rookie year, like they drafted Damian Harris, James White, and Shane Vereen in the past, Stevenson could find himself in the rotation quickly since this team is going to ask a lot of its running backs. He also experienced on special teams, so perhaps he makes a push for an immediate role in kicking game. This would be another good spot for Weidel, but several went off the board soon thereafter who looked like Patriots fits, including North Texas slot dynamo Jalen Darden, who was drafted to play with Tom Brady a few picks later, ironically. So, again, it's more of a team fit, kind of building their identity, which is good. Teams need to build their identity. Patriots want to be run first team, so it makes sense. But it's not really a position in need. I mean, the Patriots' needs are few because they filled them all, almost basically. All their needs they addressed basically. So. And number 177 overall, they get Cameron McGrone, a linebacker out of Michigan. So the Patriots have taken Don Brown pupil to play in their front seven. It started with Winovich, then came Josh Uche, and now McGrone, who's an eye-popping athlete as an off-the-ball linebacker. Brown, the former Wolverines defensive coordinator, who has a good relationship with Belichick and now works under former Belichick assistant Jed Fresh at Arizona, likes to blitz his backers just like the Patriots do. McGrone was a force in the role because of his explosiveness and his change-off direction ability. Perhaps we didn't see this coming, even if inside linebacker was a need, or because of his school and his connection with the Patriots. It was because McGrone has been injured and Belichick acknowledged after the draft he may not contribute until 2022. If that's the case, the Patriots were filling out roster spots for next year at this point in the draft, the later rounds. And it's pretty clear they feel comfortable at the wideout spot with Aguilar, Bourne, and Jacoby Myers and stuff. Simi Fekamo, who went a couple picks later, looked like a good fit on the outside for the New England since they like next level athletes. And his acquisition might have allowed Nelson Aguilar to play inside and serve as that short area separator for whoever's playing quarterback come September. So that's pretty interesting to me. So basically with this linebacker, they had a need inside. I mean, not really a need, but they have Dante Hightower, who's coming back from opting out from COVID, and then they have Jawan Bentley. So they're solid in inside linebacker, but they could use another guy in there, use the depth. They struggled in their front seven last year, and they bolstered it up during the offseason. So good on the Patriots. And then they get a safety out of Missouri, number 88 overall, 188 overall. According to Pro Football Focus, Bledsoe, the Joshua Bledsoes who we're talking about, played all over the field for Missouri over the last 4 years. In 2018, he was primarily a slot corner and a free safety. In 2019, he saw more time in the slot, but aligned as a box safety. In 2020, he saw some time on the outside, aligned on the line of scrimmage and in the slot. So this dude is everywhere in the secondary, playing a whopping 46 games over his career in the SEC. Bledsoe is considered to have a high football IQ and a nose for the football, 17 pass breakups in 22 games in the last 2 years. He should be kicking game contributor as well. So they get another guy in the secondary. New England has such a deep secondary. They add Mills. They have Devin McCourty. They have Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, Jonathan Jones. Just all these guys all over. But they add another guy for depth. He can just another Swiss Army knife, kind of like Jalen Mills. So in the later rounds, they're kind of stacking up stuff. But then they get William Sherman, an offensive lineman out of Colorado, number 197 overall. And Sherman may be the next day 3 success story for the Patriots, maybe. But given his affinity for his run blocking, he says running the ball is everything, he told reporters after being drafted, as well as his appreciation for Isaiah Wynn's game, a starter, and his willingness to play all 5 spots along the O-line. He looks like the kind of super sub who could carve out a legitimate career for himself in a place that values versatility and toughness the way New England does. The Patriots probably needed a depth piece for their line in this year's draft, but even at this stage of the weekend, there were Patriots receivers fits available, including South Carolina's Shi Smith, who checked enough boxes to be featured on this year's Patriots list of pass catchers. So they get another offensive lineman. They have a good starting 5, but then they kind of wanted to be sure for depth. So good pick here. It's good for teams to stack up on offensive line in the later rounds. That's what they do. So then here, high upside pick, they get Trey Nixon, a wide receiver, UCF, number 242. The Patriots finally got their wide receiver in the later rounds, taking Nixon out of UCF with their final pick. There's upside here. He checked out as an elite athlete relative to others at his position, something the Patriots typically look for their drafted wideouts, especially in early drafts. He clocked 4.4 for second 40, as well as 6.8 second 3-cone drill. He also jumped 125 inches in the broad and 35.5 inches in the vertical. Nixon is a little light at 6 feet, 187 pounds, and he missed 6 games with the shoulder injury last season, but his athleticism as well as a real potential opening on the roster for dynamic athlete at his position makes him a good candidate to pop coming training camp. So that's basically the Patriots draft, man. They got their quarterback of the future, A+ in Mac Jones. Absolutely love that pick. Love the Christian Barmore pick, another A+. Ronnie Perkins pick, a defensive end. I mean, it was kind of a little bit questionable. I mean, but it's good for the depth, and maybe he's the future for the team. He might not be a starter with Kyle Van Noy and Matt Judon, so I have to give that like a B minus. But it's still, Perkins was quite a bit of steal. Maybe they liked the value way too much. And then the running back pick in round 4 with Stevenson was more of a identity role, focusing their identity on being a run first, pound the ball team. So I mean, there was other options. I'd give that a B minus though. They like their power run game, and then the Cameron McGrone linebacker. It's going to be the future of their linebacking core, I guess, with aging starters. But they kind of needed depth there, so I'd have to give out like a B plus. And then the Joshua Bledsoe safety, really versatile. Move them all around the place. They probably thought too much value there, so I'd give that a B. And then their O-line, they got depth stacking in the later rounds. It's good. He can play a lot. Versatile offensive lineman out of Colorado. So you have to give that an A. And then Trey Nixon with the upside in round 7 is good, so that's an A. So overall, I'd give the Patriots an A minus draft. I think it was pretty good. I like a lot of their picks. They're picking for depth and future and win now mode, and they went berserk in free agency. So that's basically going to do it for this. Do you like the way I did this video with only one team? And do you like the way I did this, or would you like me just to cover divisions? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What do you think of the Patriots draft? Do you think the Patriots are back? I think they're back this year. They really did a good job with their roster, and the coaching staff's already there. So, I mean, maybe they're a year away from contending, but I think they're in a prime spot. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and sub. Road to 300. See you in the next one. Peace.